Hey guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hey guys, I'm Reagan. I work in finance.
I'm Tristan. I also work in finance.
And this is Working Late. So if you are grinding through a long day or a late night, we're here to keep you company and remind you why it's all worth it. So Tristan, welcome back to the podcast.
Glad to be here.
For people who didn't see his last episode, he is my husband. And so Tristan, since you were last on the podcast, you have graduated with your MBA in finance. You're 2 months into your new job. And how is that going?
It's good. I feel like the transition from being completely bored and out of my mind at my last job to always having a fire to put out and something to plan for and something to work towards is very exciting, and I'm really enjoying it.
Okay, so you're happy with the transition that you've made into finance?
Yes.
Okay, and what do you, you're new to FP&A. In your last job, it was kind of a finance adjacent role in pricing, right? What do you see long term? For
me, my long-term career goals?
Yeah.
I'd love to become a fractional CFO and own my own business, providing CFO level services to smaller and mid-sized companies that need them.
Okay, nice. I hope that works out for you.
And you too.
Yeah. My job, we're kind of in the middle of a transitional time. We have a new intern. We're trying to hire someone full-time. There's lots of cross-training because 2 of my coworkers are going on maternity leave at the same time in a few months. So I'm very afraid of that and what that's going to entail for me personally. But I did have a question for you, okay? So at my job, we're not really allowed to use much AI. I have the Copilot chatbot enterprise version, and that's the extent of it. My company is very cautious about it because they're so worried about data leaks and stuff. But you have access to Claude and Claude Cowork, and I know you're really into that, but you still work late all the time and you still work on weekends. And it's what is going on there?
Yeah, so you're talking about the transition, the dichotomy between having to work late but also having access to the best AI tool available.
Yeah, I thought AI was supposed to reduce our workload and replace us and stuff.
That's true, and it has, in a way, reduced my workload.
Okay.
However, when I first started, their reporting was insane, and they were shifting graphed date ranges over manually across 400 tabs of Excel, and that I counted it was 285 graphs, and so it took you 2 or 3 days just to do that.
That's
if
crazy.
You were working on nothing else.
That's crazy.
And and then you had to review your work, and when you're doing that many manual shifts, you're bound to mess something up. So I, with Cowork, developed an automated reporting system for that particular package. Now, taking a step back and just looking at the bigger picture, we're in this weird transitionary phase at my company. So we have a consultant full-time on the accounting staff. We have a girl who's about to go on maternity leave as well, and we're looking to fill those gaps. I think when I started, I'm part of this backfilling stage where we had a lot of turnover over the last 12 months, and as far as I can tell, it was for a good reason. It was just people taking better jobs, but I kind of just stepped into a place where they didn't have systems. They were just trying to survive. And I'm in that. It's exciting because I get to come in and stabilize, and have this great tool with Cowork. But whenever you step into a stabilizing phase of a department or a company, you have to do the work to stabilize it. And even with Cowork, it's not as simple as do this. You have to kind of treat it as a precise tool and not a blunt instrument.
Okay, so do you think the amount of hours that you work, you'll be able to reduce that at some point?
Yes, and another big problem we have is our FP&A software is garbage.
Okay.
And it's from a data perspective, a big black box. All the feeds that go into it are just in this unrecognizable system. Before I started, they found that the numbers they were reporting on were completely inaccurate as a result. So we're transitioning systems. So once we've transitioned the systems and we have steps and processes down, I think I'll be able to dial back the weekend and late night work.
So as someone who like can't really use AI tools at work, does Claude like meaningfully reduce the amount of work that you have to do, or do you spend the same amount of time working? It's just different work that you're doing now.
So I'd say Claude has meaningfully reduced the amount of time that I would have otherwise spent like building models or entire workbooks. Like I would have had to spend a few weeks building a calculation workbook for a commission structure for our company. But Claude did it over the course of a couple days with some back and forth. And I'd say it's very meaningfully impacting my job.
Okay. I mean, I hope my job like eventually lets us use it. I just don't know. And like I get so many comments all the time of people telling me like, why did you build that model yourself when Claude could have done it? And it's like, well, if I asked Claude to do that, I would get fired. So
yeah, I know.
I'm excited
Claude
for the day.
Claude is really cool. It's just, yeah, our CFO is all over it.
Yeah. Well, I don't really have like a quote this week, but I did want to talk about this concept that I heard on a podcast recently. And that is from like a physical exertion standpoint. This guy was talking about swimming. So once you feel like you're tired from something physically, you've actually only given about 40% of what you have to give. And obviously, like I'm a marathon runner. You're going to become a marathon runner. But I wanted to talk about, do you think that only applies to physical accomplishments? Because I do think about it a lot while running. Or do you think it also is like a mental mindset thing? Like once you start to feel tired mentally, you have only given 40% of what you have?
I think we've all had to pull all-nighters or late nights. I've had to work till 3, as recently as last month, and I will agree with that. I will say I have to step away from my computer every so often for maybe like 15 or 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. I can't just sit there and will myself to concentrate better or not to make the same tired mistakes. So I find that if I take a break, take a step back, my brain kind of resets, is able to look at it differently when I go back to it.
Yeah, for sure.
And I actually work faster doing that than just trying to, just grind my way through it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I guess from like a physical standpoint, you don't necessarily have those mistakes, because I'm thinking about like the last marathon that I ran. At what point was I past that like 40%? But when you're running, it's just like one foot in front of the other.
You don't really have to think about anything.
Yeah, you just have to think about like, let me keep going. But yeah, I get what you're saying. I think stepping away is definitely the most helpful thing sometimes. Sometimes I'll wait to turn something in until the next morning when I've like gotten some sleep and looked at it again.
Yeah.
But that's a good segue into our working late boosts. Do you have a boost?
I do, and it's an odd one, but I think a working late boost for me is getting home before 5 p.m. and beating that 5 o'clock traffic.
Okay.
Especially if I have to log on and work till midnight or later. Mm-hmm. Because I told my boss I'm not going to work late like that and have to sit in insane traffic. And I really just don't prefer being in the office by myself. Mm-hmm. Because I have stayed till like 7:30, 8 by myself, and
it's weird.
It's weird. I don't have my stuff I like at home. I don't have you. So I'm just there by myself. Everybody's cleared out. I just prefer to beat the traffic and then I'll log back on. Absolutely.
Okay, how has the transition been from working 4 days a week at home to working 4 or 5 days a week in office?
I am fortunate that I don't have to sit in a lot of just bumper to bumper traffic. My route is 40 minutes in the morning, but it flows, and I maybe stop for about 10, 15 minutes of it.
Okay.
And it really doesn't, I know that's like 20% or 25%, but it doesn't seem that bad.
Okay. I'm glad you feel that way.
And I like getting to see people. My last job, my entire department was located on the East Coast, and I really didn't get to see my team except for once or twice a year.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful to get to see people and work with people.
Okay, so you like really don't mind returning to the office.
No, and I knew when I was searching for a new role that there was no hybrid schedule that was going to fit what I had at my previous company.
Right.
And I knew that, and I accepted it, and I'm actually really enjoying it.
Okay, yeah, that's great to hear. I'm glad you've had such a great attitude about the commute, because like you work in downtown, we don't live anywhere near downtown. And I feel like every time we've talked about like, oh yeah, you have a new job, it's downtown, people are like, ooh, like that really sucks. And you're always just like, no, it's really not that bad. I actually don't mind it.
Yeah. I feel like people are just very quick to pounce on anything remotely negative instead of just, asking a follow-up question, active listening. How do you like it?
Okay.
People, that was a 7 Habits reference in case you didn't get that. But, nobody really asked me, how do I like my job? They're just like, oh, that sucks that you have to work it. I'm like, you don't know if it sucks or not.
Oh, I'm glad you don't think it sucks. I'm really happy for you. Okay, let's move on to our career confessionals. I talked last week about a couple conversations you have had in the office that were a little bit crazy, but I want to get your perspective. So can you tell those stories?
There's this person that works in my company that she didn't mean to put her foot in her mouth like she did. However, she was talking about her daughter and both her daughters and how they are looking to go and get their MBAs, but they're young career professionals.
Okay.
And she thinks they need to wait till they're at least 30 and have had several years of career experience, because otherwise, they won't understand the application part of their MBA.
Okay.
And her MBA was a lot different than mine. It wasn't just classes and group projects. It was a partnership between her company and Texas A&M MBA program where everybody signed NDAs, and every single project she did, she had to go and pull the data and do research from her own company. So it was very see-do, whereas mine was just take a test or work on a group project. So neither one's not better than the other, but from her perspective, she thought it would be better experience for her daughters to wait before they did that. I told her, well, I just graduated with my MBA, after she went through telling me how young people shouldn't get their MBAs. And she was like, well, I still think you should have waited.
Yeah. Yeah, you're 20 redacted, you're not in your 30s.
I know. And then there was this other situation where she was talking about how her daughter was going to marry this guy, but she's too young, she's 22. And I was like, my wife and I got married when we were 24 and 22.
I was 22, yeah.
And she's like, well, you shouldn't have done that. What's your problem?
Yeah, okay, well, let's go back to the MBA thing, because I feel like your MBA really helped you make this career change, because you didn't have a finance degree before, and your MBA was very finance focused. I don't know if you would have been able to make this career transition right now. If you had waited until your 30s, do you think?
No. I could have landed other pricing focused roles, but I could not have made the transition. I think, so whether you like it or not, finance and accounting gatekeep the jobs from outsiders, and I get it. You want people that understand finance and accounting. You don't want people that just think they know Excel and can do anything.
Yeah.
So, and I know your stance on anybody can do any job. And I will concede finance and accounting are like that. But you have to prove that you're at least competent at the baseline levels.
Yeah. I don't want to say too much, but I will say, whenever I was going from consulting to finance, that doesn't seem like a very difficult transition to make. But I definitely did talk to people who worked in corporate finance, and they were like, oh, well, you don't have any experience budgeting or forecasting. And I was always just thinking, how hard could it be? You know, like, it just doesn't seem like a very difficult concept. And then finally I did get a job in FP&A, and I got there and I was like, yeah, this really isn't that hard. Like, I get you need to limit the I get that you need to limit the applicant pool to make it easier to like sift through applications, and you want like a certain caliber of person. And so that's why maybe you have the degree requirements and the experience requirements. But I have to say, like, it's very intuitive, I would say. Like, our jobs, make a budget and see how well you stick to it. That's basically what we do.
Yeah, and it's not like check on accounting's work. That's the other part.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Those
But we
accountants.
don't have to get into that.
Yeah, those accountants. Well, I do have a hot take this week, and that is that we have to stop promoting people who are, like, super smart, maybe really good at their jobs, maybe, but also really horrible to work with. Yeah. I don't know why this is a theme. I've seen this at every single job I've had. It's not like it's an isolated issue to right now. But yeah, I often work with people who, yeah, I get it. They're smart. They're good at their job, but they have no interpersonal skills at all. And like, how can you expect that person to manage other people if, you know?
Yeah, that you may notice that somebody's really good at selling, and so you promote them to a sales leadership role,
okay,
but they're not really good at
like the leadership aspect,
leadership or managing people or the operational aspect. And you know, you've solved one problem, but you've created a dozen others. Yeah,
like the brilliant jerk phenomenon. I feel like that's huge, or that's something that I experience quite a bit at my company. I work at a service-based company, so you know, there are sales, but it's not the same as selling a product.
Yeah.
And so as people who are very good at the service that they're providing, I guess, and I understand that, but like, why would you want to promote someone who's like yelling at everybody and causing a lot of turnover and just very unpleasant, you know? I just can never understand that. And I keep seeing it over and over again.
Yeah. I mean, I don't understand it either.
Okay. I mean, if you guys think that like I'm missing something, let me know. But I
mean, I will say you can't always have, like, be the nicest when you're in those roles. Like, you may have to be a little bit direct at times.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean you have to be a jerk about anything.
Yeah, maybe it's like a generational thing. I'm not sure, but I just think it's always better to be well-liked. Like, I think people are going to respect you a lot more and work a lot better for you if you're nice to them and if they feel like they can trust you and, you know, if they feel like you're good to work with. I don't know.
Right.
Anyways, let's move on to our listener corner. We did have someone write in, and I'll go ahead and read that email. This is something I really want your take on. So this is a person who is starting an internship this summer in Houston, so welcome to Houston. And they said, I was wondering if you guys had any advice in navigating office politics, how to stand out, and how to approach this new environment. For example, we just had our first social of the summer. It was basically my first day with the accounting team, and we had a corporate happy hour. It then transitioned into a slight bar hopping scenario, and I tagged along. The other intern left pretty early compared to me. I did not overdrink or act unprofessional, but I feel like I should have called it a night earlier. My direct supervisor was also bar hopping with us, and that's maybe where I get the anxiety from. Like, is it a bad look that I stayed out so late? Does it give me a reputation for being a party person? We joked about it the next day a bit, but had a volunteer event and we didn't really talk. Okay, I'm not a big drinker, so I really don't know. I'm the first person to call it a night usually, but what do you think?
I think, well, my rule when I'm having drinks in a work setting, 2 max, doesn't matter if it's like 2 beers or 2 whatever, it's 2 max, and then it's water. And if you want to still look like you're fitting in, you can always pull the soda water lime trick. But yeah, that's just my general rule that keeps you safe at all times. You don't have to worry about getting too drunk and embarrassing yourself and potentially jeopardizing your job. In this situation, you're an intern. They wanted to bring you out, and they invited you bar hopping. And if what you say is true, that you didn't overdrink or act unprofessional, and you had fun, and they thought you were fun, and you would like you at the end of the day then you shouldn't have anything to worry about. If you're anxious about it, though, I feel like there might have been something that actually happened that you need to think about and address. But if what you say is true, then like just take it as a win that you got to connect with your supervisors and the team on a level that you otherwise wouldn't have gotten at the office.
I will say, like, it makes me feel better that your direct supervisor was there too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and you're an intern, so a lot of the career like pressure should be off of you. You shouldn't have like massive demanding projects placed on you. They're trying to sell you on why you should work for them and give you experience.
Well, and also you should be selling them on why they should hire you back.
Yeah, and so like she was saying, like they're selling you regardless of whether you work for them on why their company's a good company, so you keep them in mind in the future if you're potentially using their services. Also, on the flip side, just for an internship, I'd recommend trying to listen more than you try to act like you know. Because when I was an intern, I tried to fake it till I made it. Mm-hmm. And while I had a good internship experience, I think I would have learned a lot more had I just focused on trying to learn.
Oh, I agree completely.
Because we go through phases in life where, we're in high school and then we're seniors in high school. Then we know everything about high school, and then we transition to college and we know nothing again. And then we get to seniors in college and then we know nothing again. Mm-hmm. And so we're always having to learn how to do something for the first time. And I think the best way to do that is just to listen, and then if you have an idea, provide input. But otherwise, just hang back.
Yeah, and I'll also say, I do think you're completely fine. I probably wouldn't make that a super regular thing, but we've talked about all of the trips that we went on with my last job, and I will just say everybody at my last job got so drunk on those trips, and it never affected them or how people viewed them professionally. So at some jobs, I would say it absolutely will. At other jobs, if it's more everybody's kind of straight from the frat, it won't. You just kind of have to gauge what kind of company it is. So
yeah, I had two of this. I went out to lunch with my boss, and then on a separate occasion with two other coworkers. With my boss, he ordered a couple IPAs for lunch and encouraged me to do the same.
Okay.
And that's completely acceptable. That's completely fine.
Yeah,
but I still have my 2-drink max rule, no matter what.
Mm-hmm. And you're following his lead.
Yeah, and there's no pressure. Then with my other coworkers, we were at a brewery for lunch, but they did not get anything alcoholic to drink, so I just followed their lead and did not. It's not pleasant being pressured to drink in workplace situations. I have been in that situation before, and maybe we'd cover that in another podcast episode. I don't appreciate it, but as long as you're respectful of them and they're respectful of you, it's, just have a good time.
Wait, I kind of want to cover that right now. I think I know what you're talking about. I'm not completely sure, but how would you handle that if that situation happened to you again?
All right, so from a high level, we were at a sales meeting. I showed up to the hotel. It's not like a Marriott. It was like a nice, you've stayed there.
It was like a bed and breakfast type thing, I would say, but
yes.
less intimate maybe.
Yeah, it's a nice place.
Like a boutique hotel.
Yeah, and they had a bar, and me and my coworker had just finished traveling all day to get there, and the VP of sales or whatever was in the lobby, and he called us over, and we were just talking with him. We hadn't even put our suitcases in our rooms yet, and he's just like, I noticed y'all don't have anything to drink, and we do. And I kind of laughed it off, and then he said it again, so I just grabbed a drink, and then afterwards I looked at my coworkers like, hey, you want to go up to your room? I kind of want to go up to mine and put my suitcase away, and walked away. But if that happened to me again, I think I would just say, hey, I'm going to put my stuff in my room,
So you would just ignore the invitation even if it's coming multiple times?
Well, I wouldn't have...
If you were uncomfortable with it?
Yeah, I wouldn't have gone over there in the first place.
Okay.
I would have just said, like, hey, going to put my stuff in my room. Hope to see you around,
Okay.
I don't think I would have lingered over there because he felt uncomfortable that we didn't have a drink and we weren't socializing in the way he wanted to socialize. And I was uncomfortable because I was pressured to drink, by a VP, no less.
Yeah. I do like your strategy that you said, though, with the, soda water and lime.
Yeah.
I would probably use that every time if everybody else is drinking and I didn't want to.
Yeah, but you don't like drinking.
Yeah, I know. I know. I drink about 4 times a year. You can give me some credit for that.
You have about 4 sips a year, that's for sure.
No, that is not true. That is not true. I have at least 4 full margaritas a year, and lately I've been increasing it. I've been increasing it to 7 or 8 a year. So anyways, Tristan and I are running late to our next thing, so I think this will probably be a little bit of a short episode, but thank you guys so much for listening. The work you're doing is going to pay off. I think Jordan's going to come back soon, so looking forward to that, and we'll see you next week. Bye, guys.
See ya.